Go!
Do we like me now? We do. Right. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of AOCES season. We are back racing just the last round before our Christmas break. I won't preamble any longer. I'll just take you straight to, if I can find it, trackside, and we will get the start of qualifying underway. Why don't we? And there is no game audio. I'm not sure why. I will fix that as we go along. But apologies for that as we start. But there are 20 drivers out there on the circuit at the moment here at Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Joseph Black. I'll be taking you through this evening's action. There we go. There's the game sounds. And there was my mouse as well for good measure. But we are underway for the start of this qualifying session. And as you've been able to see, well, we are heading, as you get to see me again, all over the place this evening. We are heading to Belgium, 19 turns, 4.352 miles, the longest circuit on the Formula One calendar, and a hell of a lot of elevation, especially up from turn 4 down to turn number 5. And well, that's what we're going to be seeing in just a moment's time as we've gotten qualifying underway already. This is going to be on board with one of the RSC drivers, Rens Thomason. He is back in the league racing scene, and he's back in the league racing scene with some style as well. Of course, making his return in the Champions Esports Series, one of the best championships around, and we've got season number 2 ready to kick off. So just a little brief moment before we do head trackside, and we're just having a watch on board with Rens Thomason right now. And the V-Carb, of course, as I say, made his return to league racing, and we'll see what we are going to get the chance to do in the first 2 sectors. He'll come through to the end of the second sector towards the third sector, and we'll see what Rens has been able to do on his first lap back in league racing. We were on board, we'll switch to off board now on the V-Carb and on the RSC, the Race Speed Championship driver, as he ends the second sector, and it'll be a 1 minute 12.848. Of course, purple because he's the first driver to be setting a time. And well, we'll now head on to the final couple of corners, and Rens Thomason will complete his first lap of Spa-Francorchamps this evening, and we'll see what the RSC driver, I've said that so many times over the course of this lap, we'll see what he's going to get the opportunity to do with the bus stop chicane to finish off, and then we'll ride on board with a full lap of one of the drivers. It won't be Ren's because, of course, we've watched half a lap of his action. It'll be a 40.2. Good start, I believe, out of the final corner and starting his run. Campbell Adams just in behind, 2/10, in fact, is the gap between himself and his teammate. And Aaron Raminguez goes up to the top, 7/10 ahead of Ren's right at the very top of this field. Lucas Shea goes in slowest of all, 4th place for him. Daniel Hope, I believe, is he pulled out of his lap, or is he still? I believe actually he might still be going on his lap, and he'll be trying to beat that now. 1:40.165 from Francesco Largo. Salvador Almeida slowest of all with a 40.7, but everyone's so close. Rennie Klein 40.6 set, and Joe Murphy 40.5, so everybody within 6/10 of each other, and this will be a very good start to this session. Jonas Orpel into 8th place, and Daniel Hope around the final couple of corners. Scott Holmes slowest of all in the Tomas Enge Simracing Aston Martin. Neo puts himself in 7th place. What can his teammate Daniel do with 1 corner to go? Christoph to 12th. Hope, well, he'll be slowest of all at 42. It was kind of a lap where you can't really tell whether he's backed out or not. Valentino Labella around the final corner to see what he can do. A 40.5 is the time he gets on the board. Gabriel Quintino, 40.3, 5th place. And, well, the last couple of laps are coming to an end. I did pick Malimo. It made me go off him. I've gone back onto the McLaren, the ET8 driver, as he goes up to 16th place. So a good start from the SCI driver, Francesco Largo, who is going to be setting the pace. A good start from the FVR drivers, 2nd and 5th for them two. And then VNC 6th and 8th. And, well, Tez are up there with Giovanni Kennis, even if his teammate isn't quite there. Rens Thomason is up there, even if his teammate is not quite up there. And we'll be seeing improvements, I would imagine, throughout the rest of this course of this qualifying session, because not the degradation, the evolution of this circuit is very, very high. As I'll try and bring up the chat now. Let's have a chat to some of you in the YouTube chat. Welcome along to those of you watching along. Of course, I know engineers will be watching. I know the drivers are most likely to be watching as well. And yeah, I know there was no audio. We've fixed that problem now, so no need to worry, as we've had our first few drivers into the pit lane, and we'll have a little chat while we have a little bit of a moment of calm. We'll have a little bit of a chat about the standings, and it's Tomas Enge Simracing, who's driver, of course, in 4th place and 18th place in qualifying at the moment. They find themselves on top after 3 rounds. After round 3 at Texas. Then it's the Shizu Cedar Igniters, 7 points back, and Tatum Reztec, who find themselves 38 off of the back of Tomas Enge Simracing. They are the last team into the 3 figures. Then it's Venturi Esports just outside on 95, ET8 on 61, and RSC and Azuri on 60 apiece. And FER with 58, very close between those 4 teams. An EB Esports team have 32, and then the IRT team find themselves at the back of the field with just the 9 points. But it's not a bad start, all things considered, especially for the likes of Tomas Enge Simracing at the very top of this field. And we will see. We will see what they're going to be capable of today. And of course, Francesco Largo finds himself at the top of this qualifying session with his team in P2. His team only 7 points off of Tomas Enge Simracing, so it's a very, very interesting start to the championship, and it's a championship that we will be seeing 12 rounds of. 12 rounds will end at the end of February, or near enough to the end of February. We will have, we'll have the first 4 rounds of the season. This will be the 5th round of the season. I'm lying. This will be the 5th round of the season, and then we'll head on to Austria in the new year. Then Great Britain, Azerbaijan, Mexico, Las Vegas, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia to round out our campaign in February. And it's a very good place to round it off. And in fact, it was Canada that was cancelled because of F125. I'm not going to get too deep into that one, but F125 is what it is. And we have to deal with the state of the game that it is in. And at the moment, not a big fan of Canada, not a big fan of Bahrain, not a big fan of Qatar. So that's 3 circuits that we managed to avoid being on our calendar. Of course, Canada was initially on it, but no longer. It's been removed from it. And we've got, in the meantime, more drivers out on their 2nd runs in this qualifying session. We'll see what they're going to get the chance to do as we go back to trackside action on our screens. Of course, you can use the hashtag CESS2 for the Champions Esports Series Season 2. If you want to have any discussion about it on X, of course, that's the name that they've decided to go for, or any of the other forms of social media, whether it's just Discord as well. No point using hashtags in Discord, but it is what it is. Francesco Largo, our pole man at the moment, is the 4th driver who will be out on the circuit and out in the action. Stephen Varso, he finds himself in the middle of the circuit as Lucas Shea. His teammate is right at the very end and ready to get started to try and beat his lap, which is currently a 40.496. Going wide into the bus stop chicane and going out of it even wider just to get himself a very good turn in for turn number 1. And just to get the run down to it, because of course it's a DRS straight, then he's going to miss the first apex, but he's not going to lose too much time because he's still able to get the power down on the exit. He's not lost out too badly. That's going to be Campbell Adams, the 2nd driver, to cross the line to start his lap. But Shea now up some of the most iconic corners in Formula 1, in racing in general. Eau Rouge and Radion before he comes out to the Kemmel Straight and opens up the DRS for the 2nd of 2 times on the lap. This is one of the prime overtaking opportunities into the chicane, whether Lucas Shea is going to be making a move into there, it's yet to be seen. I know that we will be getting at least one overtake into there, and Lucas coming through it a little bit more clean than his turn number 1. He did improve though by 0.017 of a second, so very, very tight for the Ferrari, and he heads through the 2nd sector now, looking to continue those gains. It's a decent start for himself, but he still knows that there's a lot of time on the board. That turn 1 mistake was going to be huge, and well, he's still going to make up the time everywhere else on the lap, as there's going to be a yellow flag out in the final sector, in fact, just because drivers are trying to set up for their laps. We saw Lucas go wide. All the other drivers are taking it in turns, basically, to go wide. Shea's found 2/10 in the first 2 sectors. He's actually found 0.18 in the 2nd, and he now heads on to the 3rd and final sector with a time that is projected to put him in the top 4. That'd be a very, very good qualifying start from him, although the track evolution might suggest differently. We'll have to wait and see what all the other drivers are going to be capable of in this 2nd run, how evolved the circuit is. But for the meantime, Lucas Shea up to the line. It's going to be a 40.265, squeaking ahead of Rens Thomason. And, well, what is Rens' teammate going to be able to do? We'll watch with Rens as Campbell Adams goes fastest. A 40.144 to his name is going to be ahead of Francesco Largo in that 2nd place. Displaces the SCI driver from the front of the field, who was actually invalidated, was improving. It would have been enough to see himself up to pole position, but instead he has invalidated Aaron Ramirez out of the final 2 corners. We'll see what the Red Bull's able to do. He has had a slide, but has it pushed him enough? Yes, it has. A 40.0 for Aaron Ramirez, and he's done well to do that after the traction loss in the final corner. Joe Murphy puts himself into 4th place, so it's an SCI 2nd row, and it's now FVR on top. Giovanni Kennis has slotted himself into 2nd place. In the meantime, he's found 2/10 of a second on that lap, and it's a very, very good lap time from himself as everybody else comes and filters through, and we get the opportunity to see times. Rene Klein comes into the pit lane. Francesco Largo comes into the pit lane, of course, and, well, Malimo moves up to 15th. Who else is improving on a lap time? Salvo Almeida is very much on an in-lap. Scott Holmes also the same. Thomas Balsa not improved yet. Christoph is going to be the slowest driver in the field with a 40.8, but in fairness, he's only 0.8 off of the back of Aaron Ramirez on the pole position, so he's not doing too badly. Not doing too badly by any stretch of the imagination. And there's, of course, lap time on his end. There's, of course, lap time basically everyone's end. And a 39 would probably be enough to pick up pole position, I would think. I don't imagine there's going to be much of an improvement on what Aaron Ramirez has been able to do. But, of course, you never quite know. It's one of the beauties of sim racing and racing in general. You never quite know what's going to happen. And we shall see what is going to happen indeed with 1 lap left in this qualifying session. And we will get ready to get underway for the final runs in this qualifying session. And the final runs before we head to race day as well. Raminguez on pole, Kennis alongside him, Campbell Adams in third place. And it was Francesco Largo and Joe Murphy very briefly, a second row of the grid for SCI. But instead, Campbell Adams has found his way into third. Gabriel Quintino has found his way into fifth. Not bad lap times, especially from the top six. I mean, a 140.1 is a good lap when you're trying to challenge for pole. Joe Murphy, 140.2 dead on. I think we can count that. And then it's hard to see where the cutoff is between a good lap and an all right lap. It's the balance between the two is sometimes difficult to strike, because you could claim that Valentino Labella's time is good, or good enough to compete with the likes of Joe Murphy. On the other hand, you could say that he's half a tenth off of Gabriel Quintino, and I mean, on the same vein, you could say that Gabriel Quintino is over a tenth off of Aaron Raminguez. So there's different debates that you can have, but of course, we shall see what is going to happen. 3 minutes left in this session, and well, the final run's ready to get going. They're just having their final chats with their engineers, and we shall see what they can do. At the moment, of course, Aaron Raminguez 40.0 is the pole time. Campbell Adams early out onto the circuit, so might be trying to give Renz, his teammate, some slipstream. He'll be happy with the way that his qualifying session has gone so far. Of course, he finds himself in third place. Still a bit of time in the lap, but it's still a very, very good start for himself. And, of course, it puts him into third place. Not a bad place to be, all things considered, whereas his teammate down in ninth. Bit of work to do. He's about a tenth and some change off of Campbell Adams. So, I mean, they would have done similar preparations. They would have known similarly what was going to happen as the last driver out of the pits. Scott Holmes, well, he's going to be quite close to the line, but if he's able to get it to the line, then he's got a sumptuous bit of slipstream to take the benefit of. And also, he's got the most evolved track of all of the drivers. Campbell, no such luck. He's actually got the complete opposite. He's got a track that is going to be raw in comparison to the likes of Giovanni at the back of the field, or the likes of even Giovanni's teammate Scott Holmes at the back of the field. But Campbell now final 2 corners are ready and waiting for the Australian, and he will get his final laps underway in the Race Speed Championship car in Season 2. Round number 3 of the Champions Esports Series. Now down towards the first corner. Campbell he's got a pretty decent exit out of the final. Can he do the same thing into turn 1 with the entry, the cornering speed and the exit? Well, he's going to slide into it, and he's a bit tentative on throttle on the exit, but on the whole, not a terrible turn 1 by any stretch of the imagination. He wouldn't have lost too much time through there as he heads up now through Eau Rouge and Radion, and heads up to the Kemmel Straight. We might be seeing overtakes, we might be seeing incidents. It's where most of the action will happen out on the circuit of the Spa-Francorchamps. And Campbell Adams not improving in the first sector. Neo's got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. Well, that'll be most likely a restart for ourselves, as of course we like to penalise these things post-race, but the game doesn't let us. Campbell now through the second sector, trying to find all sorts of time. Medium speed corner just through there that he's had to keep tight to the apex almost all the way through, and then coming out onto the exits. There's another 5-place grid penalty collision for another AZR driver. So based on what the race director would like, they'll be starting from 18th and 19th, but of course we will wait and see where they are actually going to start. Campbell now final couple of corners of sector 2, then ahead into sector number 3. And what is Campbell able to do in the second sector? He wasn't improving in the first, he's improved in the second, and I love that. I love what he's done in there, because in the first sector, down by 0.03. Nope, 0.023. Then he's up by 0.023. So if Campbell Adams has improved by 0.023 or lost 0.023, that would be great. But checkered flag is out. That would mean he wouldn't challenge for pole position, but we'll see what he's able to do out of the final corner slide. Just making sure he's so eager on the throttle and he's onto the front row is Campbell Adams. Switching back, Joe Murphy around the final corner. He's improved a lot and he might be challenging for this pole position. 40.17. That is going to be a challenge for pole position. That may not be triumphed. What about his teammate? What about Francesco Largo? Well, he's already triumphed. He's already gotten on top of his teammate. And what a lap that is. A 140.0 1:0:06. More laps coming to the line now. René Klein only good enough for 8th place with a 1:40.253. Salva Almeida, final 2 corners for the Kick Sauber for the OMB driver, and he's going to get a time that is a 1:40.448. So only 4/10 off the pole position, but still finds himself right at the back of this field in 17th place. Thomas Balsa to the line. Neo has not improved. Balsa has, but he's only up to 18th. It's very, very close at the back of this field. Lucas Shea up to 7th. And what is the Aston Martin behind going to do? That's Giovanni Kennis, who puts himself further up the order. Stephen Vaso to a 12th place. Up goes Rens Thomason. Joe Murphy, Aaron Ramirez remain in the same place. That is Aaron Ramirez remaining in the same place. Valentino Labella's come to the line now, not improved. Scott Holmes will be the final driver to finish off his lap time, and that is going to be holding position, holding the penultimate place for himself. And that's going to be the end of this qualifying session. And on pole position, we shall see Francesco Largo alongside his teammate Joe Murphy. Great start from the team in 2nd place in qualifying in the teams, but it's a great start to their evening in qualifying. Aaron Ramirez, Giovanni Kennis, Campbell Adams, all within a 10th of the pole time. Gabriel Quintino just outside. Rens Thomason 2/10 back in 7th place, and then Lucas Shea, Valentino Labella, and René Klein round out the top 10. Daniel Hope finds himself in 11th, and of course that penalty will be removed. Jonas Orpel in 12th, alongside his teammate Malimo. Then Stephen Vaso, Florian Fanzelter, Neo, Almeida, Balsa, Holmes, and Christoph will round out the field. And, well, that is going to be the end of our qualifying session. And now it's time to get prepared. Don't go away, folks, because coming up next is race day. I won't faff about with anything. My webcam's died, which is very helpful, but we're going to go to race day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to what is technically the shortest circuit on the calendar in terms of laps, but the longest circuit on the calendar. By far, it even exceeds the limit that they're allowed to go in terms of track length. And we will see what these drivers are going to be capable of doing across the course of the 22 laps around Belgium. It'll be a one-stop, most likely for all of these drivers, and well, we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing in this race, because I mean, as I say, it's a one-stop. Everybody could go for something wacky, something weird, something different. You never quite know what to expect with any of these drivers, but I think realistically, there's only one way that you could really go here, and it is going to be that one-stop strategy. And that strategy remains basically the same, unless you get a safety car. If there's a safety car as early as lap 1, then it'll be great to see. But what will be great to see is the action, which is ready to go. And the action's underway right now. Francesco Largo leads off of the line, and he'll be challenged into the first corner by his own teammate. In the inside line is going to be Campbell Adams, and he's going to be covering off Aaron Raminguez as they head through. But a couple of end plates going off at the back. Is that going to be both of the VNT drivers? Lucas Shea might have lost his front wing. He's lost certainly a lot of places off at the start of this race. Scott Holmes alongside AZR Neo. He's not had a great start, a great time to his session either. Is he the one with the damage? Not quite, as we head down the Kemmel Straight for the first time. And Largo and Joe Murphy trying to hold defensive lines, trying to work together to ward off Campbell Adams, and they've done so successfully. Campbell Adams is going to drop down to third place for the time being. Inside line, huge send from Aaron Raminguez. Has he been able to pull it off? Yes, because Giovanni Kennis had a huge moment at the back. Is that a retirement? No, it's not. Valentino Labella. Yes, it is now. I think we just saw a tyre off for the Mercedes, and that's going to be our first virtual safety car of the race. Valentino Labella, representing Tatum ResTech, is out on lap number 1, and we've already had contact that's caused penalties. It's Thomas Balser and Christoph. It's been a dramatic start to our Belgian Grand Prix. Huge moments at the back, pretty clean up front, and Valentino Labella is the first and only driver so far to be cleaned up on lap number 1. I have received information that it is going to be a very interesting race. Just thought I'd let you know what the script was as we get back to green flag running. Nobody gets a drive-through penalty, as that's going to be the 2 drivers at the front, the SCI cars covering off once again, and they're going to work together, you would imagine, the entire race long. But the most important part is that there is going to be rain in the middle of this race. So thank you to my source very much for that. And, well, that's going to be a send from Rens Thomason, which sees the RSC driver maybe throw an Aaron Raminguez. A better exit, though, from the Red Bull out of the corner and into the first corner, as that is going to be a few cars into the pit lane. Raminguez, can he hold on to the position, or is Rens going to be able to sweep around the outside? He's going to try. He's going to be squeezed. Raminguez giving Rens a right old squeeze. Giovanni Kennis is able to sneak back through as well. He had a moment, but he was saved by the virtual safety car earlier on to stop it getting any worse, really, for the Aston Martin. But the Tomas Enge Simracing driver now finds himself in 5th, might be 4th at the end of this straight, as Aaron Raminguez. His exit's really been ruined by his defences against Rens Thomason, and there's only so much he can do in terms of holding off the position. He can also try and hold off Rens once again, as the RSC driver is all over his rear bumper, all over the rear wing, and looks to the inside. Raminguez defends it. Thomason goes for it anyway, and he's going to be able to get through in the end. But can Raminguez get the better exit? Neither of them get particularly good ones, so that allows the top 4 to streak away. Rens goes off of the circuit, bumping between the 2 in the background. That's going to be huge fighting between Scott Holmes and Florian Fanzelter. Raminguez still holding line, still making contact between the 2 drivers, but in the end, Aaron Raminguez defends, but he doesn't have that DRS. That is absolutely vital in terms of this race. Can he make his way back in? He's going to have to push even more now, and he's got Rens Thomason, who I'd imagine will be quite angry with that. There was still a bit of rubbing, and, you know, when there's rubbing, neither driver feels as though they're at fault. Joe Murphy looks like he's trying to hold off. Now, it looked like Francesco Largo and Joe Murphy were going to try and hold station, stay side by side through all of the overtaking opportunities to demonstrate the bus stop, but instead it looks like Joe Murphy has backed off and is going to try and cover off Campbell Adams as much as he possibly can. Daniel Hope is going to get through on Renz Thomason on the inside line. Is Renz going to defend this as much as Aaron Ramirez was defending from Renz on the last lap? It looks like he's going to. It looks like he's going to be successful as Giovanno gets the fastest lap of the race in the Tomas Enge car, and we head down to turn number 1 once again. Daniel Hope on the inside line getting through on Renz in the end, and the AZR driver, I think that's upset the apple cart really, because Renz looking quicker than Aaron Ramirez for that 4th place. Suddenly he finds himself down in 7th, but going back to my point, there will be rain mid-race, which is going to be very, very interesting to see. And I think a number of these drivers are going to try and stick it out until that point, which is why we see so many hard compound tyres. Some mediums, which is why Campbell Adams, Scott Holmes, the likes of them have had a good start. Stephen Beso into the pit lane once again is the Ferrari. So the 2 VNT drivers have had a terrible start to their race, and they're going to hope that it only gets better from here, and it's only on the up. And, well, unless they lose the place to Christoph or retire, or somehow to get disqualified and end up behind Valentino Labella, there's not much they can do to get much worse. Lucas Shea on the back of Jonas Orpel making the move. And, well, we're watching on with the mid-pack. Scott Holmes on the medium compound of tyres in the Tomas Enge Simracing car. And, well, he's just going to try and get through on Renz very soon. Renz, who I think is going to be slightly... He's going to be really off his real boil. He's going to be really off boil because he was quick. He was trying to make the overtake. The defence was very, very strong. And in the end, Scott Holmes is now going to be quicker than Renz, I think, at this point, because Renz's confidence would have been dented just a little bit for the V-Carb driver, for the RSC man. And well, he's going to try and fight his way back through. It was looking in a very good position for RSC, in fact, in terms of the championship fight, in terms of the points they could have picked up from this race, because of course they find themselves in 6th place in a huge fight for 5th, and they would have picked up huge amounts of points from 3rd and 4th, which could still be on as Malimo and Florian Fanzelter fight into the first corner. And that's going to be Fanzelter, huge send from Salvador Almeida on Neo, and he does make it stick, somehow no damage for the kick Sauber, and he is going to get through into 13th place. So the fight's still on for a number of these drivers, and well, it's still going to continue on Salvador Almeida trying to continue his momentum through. He feels that he's very much quicker at this point in the stint, probably because of those medium compounded tyres that he's going to try and make the most of as he's on the outside of Malimo, purple in the first sector, having to take the off-road just to avoid any contact with the ET8 driver, but he does make his way through in the end, and Salvador Almeida up to 12th. Can Malimo fight back? Well, he's going to send it. Neo's going to try and box himself in to try and take the momentum from the ET8 driver and go through, but he can't quite do so. Malimo still fighting on the outside line of Almeida. Almeida still fighting on the inside, still trying to hold line, and has he managed to do so in the end? He'll be later on the brakes, he'll be through, and he'll be holding that position, and that's the benefits of those medium compounded tyres at this point in the stint. Malimo, he's going to try and fight back. There's only so much you can do, but Salvador Almeida without the DRS, that might be the opportunity that Malimo will be waiting for, as we have had all the drivers back into the DRS in the top 11. But of course, because of the contacts that were happening on lap 1, there was real issues for a number of these drives that they've been able to fix, a lot of them, with the likes of Lucas Shea, Jonas Orpel, Stephen Veso, Christoph and Thomas Balser. I said the likes of, and then I said all of them. They'll be hoping for some sort of safety car, something like that, as all over the back of Salvador Almeida is Malimo, maybe switching to the inside, but no, just tucking back in for the time being. The kick Sauber remains ahead, but as I say, we might be getting rain very shortly. The prediction at this point in time is that it will be starting at about lap number, what would it be, lap number 12, lap number 13, something like that, if I can do my maths correctly. So we've got about 7 laps until we have to worry about that, as Campbell Adams on the back of Joe Murphy for this P2. That would be a huge move if he can make it, not just for RSC, not just for their sakes, but also because that means that SCI's stranglehold on the lead might drop, but at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to. Murphy defending late against Campbell Adams, and he's managed to hold position and hold station. Campbell, though, is not the most patient driver. He's going to want to get through very shortly, and he wants to make the most as well of those medium compounded tyres. Giovanni Kennis will be hoping that he's going to break the momentum of Joe Murphy so he can get through as well and try and break his way through. There's a 7/10 gap between Largo and Murphy at this point in time, and well, 2 console I don't know if we can call Francesco Largo a legend in the console scene. He hadn't really established himself before he jumped over to PC, but Joe Murphy, we certainly could. Those two working together very, very strongly. Both, of course, former console drivers turned to PC, and both very, very competent drivers as well on there. And here are looking to try and take an SCI 1-2 here today. Rens Thomason, another very strong driver on console on the last game cycle, where he's in 8th place and trying to fight his way up. Of course, he could have been in 3rd place all those laps ago. No such luck. Could have been in 4th place. It could have been in 4th, could have been in 3rd, one of the two, because RSC would have had a stranglehold over those positions, but instead he drops back. Late lunge from Campbell Adams, not quite expected from Joe Murphy, not quite expected from myself, and I don't think it was quite expected from Campbell either. So he didn't really go for the move. He sort of half-heartedly tried to make a lunge, but couldn't in the end pick it up. The number 96 is going to head to the first corner for the 6th time and try and make an impression. Giovanni Kennis looking to try and make an impression on him, as well as Malimo and Neo have dropped out of the DRS, and Salva Olmedo is into the pit lane. Interesting. I genuinely think here, I really think that this is the benefit of having team telemetry. This is the benefit of having an engineer. Salva's fixing his front wing, so it doesn't matter anyway. But he's got on another set of medium compounder tyres. The reason he's done that is because that rain is coming. He can predict it. He can be as quick as he can before that. If you don't have an engineer, if you don't have team telemetry, you don't know as closely when the rain is going to come. And so it's kind of like a guessing game. Of course, you can trust the in-game weather. The in-game weather tends to be wrong quite a lot of the time, but it's a difficult balance to strike. René Klein now out of the DRS in the IRT car. The team, of course, only has 9 points to their name so far, so it has been a disappointing start to the season from them, as that's a late lunge from Quintino on Thomason, and he has made it stick. Thomason, I think, might have been budged a little bit wide, might have been pushed a little bit wide as well, but in the end, that is going to be Gabriel Quintino through, regardless of how he's made the move stick and up into 8th place. Of course, we didn't see it, so I'm not going to pass comment. But yeah, IRT, not at the moment looking very good. In terms of course, they will have given up on winning the title at this point, but in terms of picking up as good results as they can, as the inside line beckons for Rennes back on Gabriel Quintino. Florian Fanzel trying to seek his opportunity. We can't quite do so for this point in time. Lap 7 is underway, and well, it might be another lunge from Rens Thomason. This is an interesting one to watch, as there's a little bit of contact between these two, but yeah, it's very interesting to watch these two drivers, because of course, Rennes hasn't been the most aggressive so far this race. That's fair to say. Was he supposed to be? I think he should have had a bit more of a bite when he was fighting for 3rd place, because now, all the way down to 10th, and he's fading from where he would have been at one point in this race, which would have been fighting for a podium. He's really faded, and I think that's a combination of being overtaken for that 4th place initially, and then having Gabriel Quintino get through on him in such an aggressive manner that he did, because they would have both rattled him, I think, a little bit, just a little bit. And yeah, it will be interesting to see how the rest of his race goes, because if he can pick up the pieces, I think he'll be all right. But it's about whether he can pick up the pieces. That is going to be another thing. That might actually be an interesting point made. Thank you very much to Maximilian. In the chat, does Rens Thomason have damage? He claims that he does, but Maximilian, of course, famous for being an FVR connected driver, manager, whatever. But yeah, we'll see. As that is in fact damage on Rens Thomason's car. So you're absolutely right, Max. That's interesting to see, the RSC driver with problems. And that's exactly probably why he's dropped down, claiming that he's had this damage since lap 1. And well, I mean, that is a shame, because he was really, really looking quick. It was looking so good for RSC, of course, in that really, really fierce dogfight for 5th place. 1 point behind ETA. It would have been a huge points tally. Still might be a huge points tally, but it doesn't look as though the strategy is going to pay off. Of course, Rennes picking up damage on lap 1 didn't help. Campbell Adams being on potentially what is the wrong strategy at this point. Of course, we don't know how it's going to stack up. We don't know when the rain is going to come, but with the way it looks, with him doing over half the race on the soft compounder tyre, it doesn't quite look as though it's going to be a beneficial strategy for him, as Malimo gets through on René Klein, and Salva Almeida sets the fastest lap of the race. it doesn't look for Campbell, for Scott as well, Scott Holmes. Both of those drivers, the only drivers who started on the mediums, still find themselves on medium compounded tyres. It's really not been beneficial for them, because now those tyres are going off. They've still got to struggle through at least 4 laps, because that's when the rain comes. And then after that, it's just going to be a case of trying to fight your way back through. They're obviously, because they're on those mediums, because they're on those more worn tyres, they're going to go for that gamble early. They're going to make that switch. And then they're going to struggle on tyres that aren't quite ready for the conditions. Those tyres are going to be... They're going to wear so much in the early portion of the stint, just because it's not there. The conditions aren't going to be ready. It's not going to start tipping it down, especially not at a circuit this long. Over 7 kilometres is the layout of this circuit, of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So it's not going to be raining in all parts instantly, as Lucas Shea picks up our first 3-second time penalty of the race. That adds to his tally, because he had 10 seconds earlier on, which he managed to get removed by coming into the pit lane because of the damage that he picked up with the cause of that safety car on lap number 1. Giovanni Kennis through on Campbell Adams, who does make the switch. So that's going to be, I think, the wrong strategy for him to be on. He and Scott Holmes, I said they were going to be worn tyres. It's likely that they were nearing puncture region, which is why they tried to avoid it, which is why they're now into the pit lane to make the switch. And it's going to be hard compound tyres for the two. Hard compound tyres for Campbell Adams, and it's hard compound tyres for Scott Holmes. They've got about 3 laps until the rain comes. He does stop at the end of the race, in fairness, but it's not at a point where the track is going to get that much better. It's going to get better, don't get me wrong. It's going to get so much better at the end of the race, but it's not going to be that much better. But yeah, we'll see how that one stacks up. Giovanni Kennis, 2 seconds off Francesco Largo and Joe Murphy. The two SCR drivers have pulled such a huge gap at the start of this race, and this is going to really benefit them in the championship. Round number 4, of course, this is, because we had Canada removed earlier on in the season because F125 things. Joe Murphy, Francesco Largo in such a dominant position. And the Tomas Enge driver, of course, Giovanni Kennis 3rd place, doing well. Scott Holmes, he's kind of spent the race weekend catching up. It's felt as though he's been behind this whole race weekend, and he's been trying to catch up, and he's been trying to... It feels as though there may have been a lack of practice on his part, because he's come in. Of course, he's a very quick driver. He's one of the most improved drivers on this grid. It feels as though he's not shaken the rust off, and... Of course, the strategy choices haven't helped him in any way, shape or form. As you can see now, the clouds are really starting to form, especially over the end of the Kemmel Straight. It's just not helped him in any way, shape or form. And, I mean, we could get a safety car. We could get something that comes out. Maybe the rain stays away after all. That's a hint to my source, by the way, if you'd like to update me. Then that would be wonderful, of course, because I can't type, because... busy with other things like watching SCI have a 1.9 to 2 second gap. But this is the benefit as well of the DRS for the two SCR drivers. They've been able to break away, and they've been able to hold away, because Largo is just dragging behind Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy is holding position. Malimo has been a very quick driver in race pace. I wouldn't say his qualifying pace has been great, which is why he's ended up maybe slightly further off what he would have been hoping for and what he would have been seeing. But he's managed to make his way up 8th place, past Renz Thomason, who of course had that damage. And yeah, we'll see. These drivers continue to scrap. Neo getting through on Rene Klein for that 10th place. Rene doing very well for IRT. Of course, they've not had they've had a pretty sluggish start to the season, and they're looking to pick it up now. But Thomas Balser down in 18th place, damage on the first lap, just caught up in the desync issues, and he's not been benefited at all. Certainly not benefited for either IRT driver, really. Of course, Rene is now the driver at the back of those who didn't either pick up damage or pit, Campbell Adams and Scott Holmes. Well, keep an eye on them, because Campbell, he was 3rd. If you have a look at his gap to the leader now, it is going to be a gap of 19.4 seconds to Joe Murphy. He was right in behind those two, so he's got 19.5 seconds now to make up on a fresh set of hards. Not a terribly difficult task, but the problem is that he's not got 22 laps to do it. He's not got 21. He's not got 11 laps even. I can't speak. He's not got 11 laps now to do so. But instead, he's got probably 2 or 3. It feels as though the rain is kind of holding off. Thank you again to my source. for all the track information. But it does feel as though the rain is holding off. It's still about 10-15 minutes away. So something has happened to that rain. Maybe the SCI gods have held it off, or it wouldn't be the SCI gods because they've got the right strategy. The RSC or the TES gods have held it off for the time being, but it's not coming for another 10 minutes. And that will be a very interesting one to watch with, because that might come at a point where there's about 5 laps to go, maybe, say, for example. If there's about 5 laps to go in this race and the rain comes and it's not strong enough yet for intermediates, we could be seeing drivers stay out. And I think that's where starting on the hards really gives you that flexibility, because those hards could quite literally run to the end of the race. The mediums can't, as we've seen by Campbell Adams and Scott Holmes. They go about 8 laps before they start to drop off, and they wanted to catch the drop off. But starting on the hards gives you the flexibility. You can go either into the pits when the intermediate conditions are upon us, or you can stay out, you can wait for the intermediate conditions, and then you can come in. But we shall of course see when the rain is going to come. It's likely that it's going to come. It's almost guaranteed, in fact, that it's going to come and pour over this circuit at some point. It's not going to be that heavy. So I think after all of that, those who went for that earlier strategy, Campbell Adams, Scott Holmes, because of the undercut now, they're going to be really benefited. There's moves for that 4th place. Daniel Hope, of all people, is fighting for it with Aaron Raminguez. It's going very well for the AZR driver and the AZR outfit as a whole now, but Hope is under pressure from Aaron Raminguez and Gabriel Quintino, and there's damage. There's contact between the 2 FVR drivers. That's an end place off for Gabriel, and Aaron Raminguez will be trying to hide his blushes in his Red Bull as he goes up and tries to overtake Daniel Hope. Little bit of miscommunication. Saw another end plate flying off. Not sure of who. I think it might have been Florian Fanzelter. We'll see as there's contact. Daniel Hope goes way too far to the inside. Aaron Raminguez gets through. Through all of that goes Florian Fanzelter to take 4th place. It's getting oh so scrappy. That's Gabriel Quintino struggling with the damage off of the circuit. Rens Thomason continues to have that front wing damage, but at this point, it's neutralised the problem, because he's in 6th place. Daniel Hope likely has damage as well from the contact. Indeed, he does. That's that front left end plate off. Gabriel Quintino has damage. So 2 cars in that fight have damage alongside Rens Thomason, and Aaron Raminguez will be feeling a little bit sheepish about it as well. And off the circuit, in fact, is what he's managed to go, and it's 10 seconds worth of penalties, I believe, for an illegal overtake. Didn't quite see it, didn't quite catch it, but I think that's what he got. And Gabriel Quintino, in fact, I say he's got end plate damage. He's got a little bit more than that. He's got so much front wing damage on that car. It appears as though he doesn't have that much, but in terms of all of the data that I've got access to, Gabriel Quintino struggling, and so I think it's likely that we see him into the pit lane. And knowing Gabriel, hopefully he's not going to retire from the race. No, he's going to continue. FVR have made the decision to continue. And well, they've made some not very good decisions this week. They've made some good decisions this week, and I think Gabriel Quintino staying out is a low risk, but also potentially a low reward. If he went for the high risk, high reward of pitting, trying to do 9-10 laps on those tyres, we will see what he's going to get the chance to do. But I really think it made sense for him to dive in at this point in time. And we shall, of course, we'll see what Gabriel is able to do. Of course, he's a very talented driver. Not had much practice for this race. I believe he said he woke up 5 minutes before it. But he's doing a decent job for somebody who's only had about 5 minutes of practice at the moment, is the Red Bull. And he's trying to stay within DRS of Malimo, but you can see how much he's struggling with that pace now. He was probably up there with the quickest in this pack. Of course, he was fighting with Raminguez and Hope for the lead of it, as Christoph sets the fastest lap. Quintino now drops out of the DRS of even Malimo. So Malimo, Hope, Thomason and Raminguez have sort of become their own pack, especially with Florian Fanzelter, who made that supreme move in the chicane. He was able to make his way through, and he's now extending his advantage. To the TRT driver from absolutely nowhere has just wrestled this position back into his hands, and wrestled this position back into TRT's hands as well. 5.4 seconds behind Giovanni Kennis, and now extending that gap on Aaron Raminguez is doing very well. The rain is set to come closer than expected. The forecast doesn't know what's going on really at this point, but the rain appears to be just a couple of minutes away, maybe even the end of this lap. So we will be seeing some drivers into the pit lane. Is Neo one of those who's going to be coming in for a set of the intermediates? Are they jumping the gun? Are they going to try and get the undercut on them? No, for Gabriel Quintino. We've got a brief flash of some medium tyres, some yellow wall tyres, and it's the same for AZR Neo. So they don't think that rain is going to be heavy enough to stay out and to wait for it. Instead, they're going to go for their strategy that they were planning the whole time and see how that one works out. Rens Thomason through on Daniel Hope, and Hope through on Raminguez as well. So a couple of positions gained for the two of them. And they gain places up further up the field. Stephen Vaso fastest lap of the race on a set of the hard compound tyres, which is interesting because those mediums have proven to be the quickest for a very short period of time. But over the stretch of a lap, it appears that Stephen Vaso has been able to wrangle those tyres, as I meant to go there. 4 laps on those hards, and he's setting a fastest lap. Fair enough. Fair play to Stephen for being able to put that lap in. I mean, at this point in the race, it's very much just about trying to stabilise, which is why I think he's been able to get that fastest lap. He and his teammate as well working together to try and receive it, and well, they've done so, of course. Any benefit at this point in the race is going to be a huge, huge positive for the Venturi drivers, who have the race could not have gone worse for Venturi or for Anibi, really. If you have a look at the standings, Venturi 95 points in 4th place, now dropped down to 15th and 16th in this race. Then Salvo Almeida and Christoph 17th and 18th for Anibi, who are of course 9th in the standings with 32. So really big loss for Anibi, especially if IRT Klein can get into some form of points. Thomas Balser's not going to get to do the same thing, so it looks like those two teams are going to drop off the field at FVR. Contact between those two drivers has had them in 8th place, probably going to gain points on an EB, but lose points to everybody around them. And Daniel Hope, Rene Klein into the pit lane and making the switch as we get up the run. And it's a beautiful run from Malimo out onto the Kemmel Straight. He gets through on Aaron Raminguez nice and easily, and he's going to set his sights on Rens Thomason for 5th place. But the Shizusi Igniters are going to... It looks like they're going to dominate this race. It looks like they're going to take the championship lead. It looks as though also, like that little scrap for 5th place, ETA, RSC, Azuri and FVR, well, it looks like RSC have wrestled the lead in that one, as they were 1 point behind ETA heading into this round, and they now will find themselves with a huge benefit added to their points tally. Gabriel Quintino has found himself an end plate somewhere, and he gets through on Jonas Orpel. But I don't know if you saw that brief flash on your screens. Is it rain time? Watch on board with Gabriel Quintino. It is definitely raining out there. It is definitely time to start considering at least the intermediate tyres, and that's not going to help those who've come into the pits. AZR have missed a trick. Gabriel Quintino kind of forced into the pit lane. 1 lap earlier, he'd have been fine. Neo and Daniel Hope, though, have missed a trick, because I think it's going to be intermediate conditions. Swap for the lead of the race, as I believe, is that Joe Murphy? No, he's just simply dropped down, so maybe a bit of a mistake because he's out of the DRS. You'd think if they had just had a clean swap, then it would have been a little bit more... they'd be a little bit closer together. Kennis, Fanzelter, Thomason, all into the pit lane. Is this intermediate tyres? Yes, indeed it is. So the circuit has switched over. There's a very, very obvious crossover point between the inters and the dry compounded tyres out there on this circuit and out there on the F125 game. And I think they've just absolutely nailed it. Giovanni Kennis is going to come out of the pit lane just behind his teammate Scott. And I think Scott's engineer is just going to be telling him to wave his teammate by and see what Giovanni can do. If that was the right call, Giovanni Kennis is now the favourite to win this race. And I truly believe that, because the undercut is so unbelievably strong on this game that Giovanni Kennis, if he has nailed this strategy, if he nails this outlap, as I'm going to go on to Scott, not Scott Holmes, Giovanni Kennis, if we're going to ride on board with the Aston Martin, well, if he's able to gain all this time on Francesco Lago, and I actually switch it back to the gap to the leader, it's currently 20.6 seconds. Now, a pit stop would be about 19 seconds. So he's gained half a tenth at least as DRS has been disabled. He's not going to get the benefit off of his teammate, and Scott Holmes should be diving out the way very shortly. But Largo and Joe Murphy might have missed a trick. Also, they're both going to have to come into the pit lane. Shazoo Cedar Igniters might have just bottled the easiest 1-2 that they could have possibly seen. But Giovanni Kennis trying to follow through. We'll see Largo or Joe Murphy. I think it'll be Joe Murphy on this lap, and then Francesco Largo in the next. Or maybe Joe Murphy's dropped back just to try and gain, and I think as they're both sliding out of the final corner, and they're both going to come in. Shazoo Cedar Igniters are double stacking on lap 16 of this race. The Shazoo Cedar Igniters have double stacked. Joe Murphy is losing so much time in this pit stop. It's going to be, if Francesco Largo nails it, 2.2 seconds in the pit lane. That's 1.2 that Murphy's already lost. And that's ignoring all the time that he's going to lose with the team faffing about, trying to sort themselves out. There we go. He's going to get in. That's probably going to be about 2.5 seconds at least that he's going to lose. Giovanni Kennis now heads towards the first corner. We're going to ride off board with him as he's going to go to the inside of Campbell Adams. Where is Francesco Largo in all of this? Well, he's in the lead of the race, but Giovanni Kennis' tyres are warmed up, are ready for racing, and he's going to get the opportunity to attack our former race leader, who is now currently back in the race lead, and we'll see. Is he going to be able to gain positions? Neo retires from the race. Giovanni is 6 tenths back on Francesco Largo. This lap will win or lose this race for Tomas Enge Simracing. And if not, it's going to swap back into the favour of Francesco Largo. Joe Murphy comes out of the pit lane 5.8 ahead of Florian Fanzel to 5.7 off of the back of Campbell Adams. So no man's land for the second Shazoo driver. They should have come in 1 lap ago. But instead, it's down to Joe Murphy to pick up the pieces. And it's down to Francesco Largo to see how much time that he can make Giovanni Kennis lose and how much time he can get Joe Murphy to gain. There's about 6 tenths of a second that's been gained in the first 2 sectors, and it looks set to continue that momentum. Joe Murphy through on Campbell Adams. He just let him go. I think there might have been a small mistake there from the V-carb as he's struggling now on those hard compounded tyres. RSE got this strategy wrong. And I think it's been, from his engineer, I think it's a little bit naive, because even the likes of, he came in at the same time as Scott Holmes. Scott admitted his mistake, came into the pit lane, made the switch, and he's now out in 7th place, what will be 6th. Now he's gotten through on Renz Thomason, and Campbell Adams is going to be dropping down with him coming into the pit lane. And Renz as well, he's picked the wrong tyres. So RSC, I can't decide who's bottled it more, RSC or SCI there, because Renz Thomason came in for a set of the mediums. Surely that's a mistake on their part, and that is a huge mistake in terms of this whole race picture for Race Speed Championship. They looked almost nailed for a very strong position, but instead Renz Thomason is going to end up outside of the top 10. Campbell Adams into the pit lane now, and it's almost like RSC haven't seen the rain on their screens, because they've come in 2 or 3 laps later than anybody else. Giovanni Kennis and Florian Fanzelter, of course, jumped in first, and they were joined very promptly by everybody else. Renz Thomason was supposed to come in for the Inters. He didn't. He came in for the medium compounded tyres, and so he's going to drop down the order. And, well, the Shazoo Cedar Igniters are promoted to 1-3. So the pace advantage that they've had is very strong. The pace advantage that they've had has allowed them to get into this position of a 1-3. It could have been so much better, but in terms of damage limitation, it's not too bad, all things considered. And now we head to the end of the race. Potentially, the rain is going to stop right at the end, so we might be seeing some very scrappy fights on sets of intermediate tyres. Very warm intermediate tyres at the very end of this race session. 18 of 22, about to tick over to 19 of 22 after the final sector is traversed by Francesco Largo and Giovanni Kennis. There is 8 tenths between these two drivers, and it's fair to say I think Giovanni has really been in a position where he's been the challenger to Shazoo Cedar Igniters this weekend. Shazoo have been so very strong, but in the race and in qualifying as well, Giovanni has been very much holding on to their coattails, and is going to try and pick it up as, well, I mean, they had an easy one too. They are going to drop a couple of points. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it's going to feel, it's going to feel as though they've bottled this race. And I think they'd be right, unfortunately, in feeling that. But, hey, Still a 1-3. Still not too terrible. And, well, Giovanno splitting the drivers at the moment. If this championship comes down to just a couple of points, you can pinpoint that strategy as to what went wrong. Rens Thomason, 3-second time penalty for himself. He becomes the second driver to pick up a track limit penalty after Rens Thomason, both outside of the top 10, 12th and 14th respectively. And, well, there's now 4 tenths between Giovanni Kennis and Francesco Largo. Somewhere, somehow, the Aston Martin's found time, and he searches for a gap around Francesco, who covers off the middle. That's smart, because there's not really much room around La Source, especially when you've got conditions like this. Joe Murphy getting and holding position on Flowery and Fanzelter, and Giovanni Kennis still 3 tenths back off the back of Francesco Largo, but it's as close as he's ever been to the back of the race leader. And, well, if Francesco Largo is going to drop this position, it's going to feel even worse on the Shazoo Cedar Igniters team. You can see in the background Joe Murphy 4.6 behind, and it does look as though this might be a tactical liftoff from Francesco Largo here, a tactical application of the pressure, so that Giovanni Kennis will have to try and go for a move when the conditions are at the worst that they will be all race long. And in the meantime, Joe Murphy, Florian Fanzelter might catch up. We might get a 4-car battle for this race lead. This might shoot Shazoo Cedar Igniters in the foot, you know, because Joe Murphy, very, very talented driver, is going to have to worry, in their ideal scenario, about in front and behind. If he just worries about Florian Fanzelter behind, then he can just hold on to 3rd place. He can be happy. But then, if he's able to catch up to Kennis and Largo, he's going to have to think about in front and behind him, and that is where races really kind of go wrong. Lap 20 is what we're about to head on to. So only 3 laps to go in this Belgian Grand Prix, and round number 4 of the season, and the championship fight really continues to light up. Shazoo Cedar Igniters, the team in behind, are currently fighting the team in the lead, Giovanni Kennis and Tomas Enge Simracing. Scott Holmes, incredible driving to make his way back into the points from the position that he was in, from the strategy that he was on that was potentially just that little bit wrong, and he's done very well to gain up to 6th place and to damage limit what his race session has been. And he's got Malimo ahead of him now with an opportunity to gain up to 5th place. He's 3.0 seconds off as now Giovanni trying to chase, and that's a mistake in the first sector. Jonas Orpel drops down a position, but that does look as though that's going to be... Is that Gabriel Quintino? No, he's going through the first sector. Who is that that's made the mistake? It looks like it's not going to be identified because they've managed to get themselves going again. It looked like it might have been Rene Klein, someone like that. One of the blue teams, but there's so many blue teams on this grid that you can't quite tell who. That's going to be Gabriel Quintino ahead of Jonas Orpel on your screens. This is the fight for 10th place. Gabriel goes all the way to the inside. Jonas tries to move across and tries to dare him late, but Gabriel just drifting across to make the line, to make the corner, and the Red Bull up into 10th place to hold position for the time being. He's had a real whirlwind of a race, has the FVR driver, and there'll be words said backstage after the race. There'll be words said in the debrief meeting after it as to the moments between himself and Aaron Ramirez. I don't think any fault can be attributed to Gabriel Quintino. That can. A slight slide that allows Jonas Orpel through. Don't think any blame can be attributed to Gabriel Quintino. I think it was just a little bit of a miscommunication, and Aaron Ramirez just momentarily forgetting where he was. Maybe a little bit of desync as well, so it can be explained away. It's not my job to explain it away. It's FVR, and they've had to explain a lot away this week. But lap 21 or 22 has now been headed onto, and they are closer than ever. Giovanni Kennis on the outside, even into the first corner, cannot quite get through on Francesco Largo, but he got the run. He started to threaten, and Joe Murphy in the background starting to become a bigger figure in the rear mirror of Giovanni Kennis. He's 2.6 behind, and Francesco Largo, 3-second time penalty. Giovanni Kennis is going to get through on our former race leader anyway, and Shazoo Cedar Igniters have seen an easy 1-2 drop to maybe even a 3-4. That would be a devastating result, considering the position they were in. Of course, the points could be as they are. They're not going to drop out too badly. Francesco's still trying to fight, still trying to keep a tyre in, but Giovanni Kennis is putting on an absolute masterclass of wet-dry racing here, and the Tomas Enge Simracing driver leads this race for the first time. Francesco has a 3-second time penalty, so it makes sense for him to try and fight Giovanno now with nothing to lose. There's a 13.5 second gap back to Malimo, so if they are going to get a 3-4, it's going to be a dignified 3-4, where they know that Joe Murphy could have possibly had a fight for the race win rather than settling. Florian van Zelter all over the back of the Briton though, so it's not over by any stretch of the imagination for any of these drivers. Can Joe Murphy hold up Van Zelter now? That looks like what he's trying to do. 2.7 is the gap as the rain has now stopped. There is no more rain here on the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and Giovanno Kennis is trying to master these conditions once again. As soon as he saw that dry line form, he started to attack. It was the start of the last lap that he was able to make it stick, and Florian van Zelter has made it stick on Joe Murphy. We head on to the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix, round number 4 of Season 2 of the Champions Esports Series, and it looks as though Giovanno Kennis is going to be able to take this one away. Francesco Largo, P2, will try and fight this one to the death, but I think it's going to be in vain. They've decided to settle for 3-4 with Joe Murphy trying to hold up Florian van Zelter. Murphy, though, did drop positions, so it's now just a case of can the TRT driver make his way back into the 3-second window on Francesco Largo that he's just dropped out of it. We might be seeing Francesco Largo get it removed. He will have a look at it, I'm sure, and I'm sure there'll be a penalty appeal at least put in as Joe Murphy on the outside of Van Zelter trying to hold position, and Van Zelter squeezed to just about the inside line enough that Joe Murphy has been able to make his way back up to 3rd place and will try and hold up the TRT man for the final couple of kilometres to go on this race circuit. He's going to do his very best. He's going to try his very hardest to make it a 3-second or more gap for Van Zelter, and that is going to be that, I think, in that fight. Campbell Adams doing very well to recover from his position. It feels as though those drivers who've started particularly on the wrong strategy have really managed to fight their way back into being on the right strategy, and Campbell Adams and Scott Holmes are exemplifying that. But Giovanno Kennis, with just one sector to go, is going to hold off Francesco Largo here. Shazoo Cedar Igniters led this race all the way through the dry stint. Then the rain came. Giovanno nailed it. He came in as soon as he saw drops on his monitor. Francesco Largo and Joe Murphy missed the boat. They tried to regain it back. They picked up the paddles. They tried to take the raft to the line, but instead, a moment from Largo, a 3-second time penalty, and then Joe Murphy with a double stack has cost them. And Tomas Enge Simracing take round 4. Giovanno Kennis victorious. Francesco Largo will finish 2nd, and Joe Murphy's defences will be enough to hold on to the 2-3 for the Alpine outfit. Van Zelter, not quite enough, will drop to P4 in the end. Malimo will take 5th place. Scott Holmes will pick up 6th after a very good drive from himself, and a very good drive as well from Campbell Adams, who will take home 7th. Aaron Raminguez, Daniel Hope and Gabriel Quintino will round out your top 10, and in a very competitive, very dramatic race, FVR and SCI and RSC all having drama all throughout the race, and in the end, that is going to be the way your race order stands. Of course, Campbell retired after the line, so he will be moved back up, and it will be Jonas Orpel in 11th, Lucas Shea in 12th. Then it's Rene, Renz, Stephen, Salva, and Christoph to round out the field. But what a race we had on our hands in that one right there. The Belgian Grand Prix has come to a close, and it's been a very, very competitive one. Shazoo Cedar Igniters looked like they ran away with it. It was snatched right back, and Giovanno Kennis has taken as many points as he can towards the Tomas Enge tally, and I think combine that and Scott Holmes' recovery, and Tomas Enge can be very happy with the way that that race went. So Giovanno Kennis, of course, taking victory from 4th. Francesco Largo and Joe Murphy were on the front row, couldn't quite make that one stick. Florian van Zelter from 15th on the grid all the way up to 4th place, made his way through the carnage on lap 1. So did Malimo, and Scott Holmes did the same about twice. Aaron Raminguez, 7th place from 3rd, so he'll be disappointed, but contact with his teammate is the biggest disappointment of all. Then Daniel Hope, Gabriel Quintino, Raminguez's teammate, and Jonas Orpel rounding out the top 10. Daniel, who at one point was fighting for 4th place, he would have got a nosebleed up there, but still 8th is a decent haul of points to take home. Then Lucas Shea, Rene Klein, Stephen Veso, Renz Thomason, Salva Olmedo, and Christoph will round out the finishers. Of course, Campbell Adams was in the points as well. He would have finished 27.067 off, which would have put him in 7th place, dropping Raminguez down to 8th, Hope down to 9th, and Quintino down to 10th. Orpel, Shea, Klein, Vaso, Thomason, Olmedo, and Christoph will round out the order with Thomas Balsa and Neo and Valentino Labella, the final finishers. But a very good race indeed. And, well, that will round us off for our action for 2025. Thank you very much to everybody who contributes to the Champions Esports series. It's been a great honour to be able to jump in last minute. But until next time, it's goodbye.